No. We on air. We actually on air right now. We on air.
Hello.
But we don't really have views. Everyone is late, so people are late. People are getting in. So okay, I'll start introducing you, David. David, don't do that.
No, that's fine.
Okay, guys who just joined us, we have page one power. Yes, as you can read it just behind this beautiful and knowledgeable girls. We have Danica and Kimberly with us. They will have all time till Thursday. I'm absolutely free, so you can take your time, no problem. So they will explain what they're doing, why they are here, and everything. So there will be plenty of time. But let's talk about our guests. Oh, I can see people are gathering. We have more viewers. Okay. Amel knows I always do what Google said to me to do, so I do on my screen from my left to right. My screen is slightly different from yours because I'm the boss here. Yeah? Okay. Boss means I only have I have a license to ask stupid questions here. You guessed you don't have this privilege. You have to ask intelligent questions. Okay, we have Amel. She always does intelligent questions, so there's no problem with her. She's from Montreal, Canada. She's SEO consultant, and she's quite regular with us. Thank you, Amel, for being with us.
Thank you for having me here.
Okay, so we have David Bain. It says Lori. I don't know. Metropolitan Police is after you, David, or something?
It might be that, yes. Yeah.
It might be. Okay, it's David Bain from London. From Authoritas. Actually, because of this small screen, we can't really see what it says David, but believe me, it's David Bain. Yeah, okay. From London. Okay, guys, you can talk. I'll try. We're still waiting for one more guest, but now we have 5 minutes of pre-presentation talk. You can just talk.
Well, hello. I'm Danica. And, I've been working at Page One Power and in the SEO industry for a little over 2 years. Page One Power is a link building firm. We're located in Boise, Idaho. So we're in the northwest of the United States. We have lots of beautiful mountains and trees. So we, here at Page One Power, we link build for different clients and different niches. Essentially what we're doing is we're building relevant evergreen links and just kind of doing a form of content promotion. Links are definitely the internet highway to some degree, so we're really happy to be helping people get to where they want to on the web.
And I'm Kim. I also work at Page One Power. I've been here with the company for a couple years as well, and I have to say, living in the Northwest, Amal, you're from Canada. I do believe you can relate. It's beautiful up here. Probably, I would arguably say, some of the best country around. I would agree that what we do as a company is essentially help people ultimately reach their goals. So people come to us with a variety of goals that may be multiple things. They may not just be links. They may want anything from rankings to keyword ranking, but the way that we get there and the way that we drive that type of engagement is predominantly through content.
Mm-hmm. And we've been around for about 5 years
as a company,
and it's been a nice growth, just seeing everything grow. Everything in the SEO industry changes a lot. Links 5 years ago and link building 5 years ago was a lot different than what it is today. Very different, and we're always seeing Google change things. Last week they changed the length of title tags and meta descriptions, from what I was reading. I'm not sure if you guys saw any of that, but it's another update. Just seeing all of that go and grow. I really enjoy. I like learning a lot about everyone's different takes on it, especially because everything in SEO and SEM is so so broad and different, and it's a very 30,000-foot view kind of what you can do. It's very abstract, and I really like that.
Links are links are very interesting because well, everyone wants to talk about links because they're supposedly very important, but Google doesn't, because we do. I don't know if you know, we do Google Q&A, and now it's a little bit change the format. So next one we will have with two Googles, John Mueller and Andrei Lipansev. Before we had only Andrei Lipansev, and he was talking. He actually first time Google admitted links are important. So we said, I talked to John Mueller, and I asked, why don't we do links? Everybody's so interested in links, and he said, well, we don't want to do links because we don't want to provoke people. I said, what do you mean provoke people? He said, after Google admitted the links are important, well, which everybody knows anyway, the links are important, next day some spamming companies that do spam for million emails, telling everybody, Google tell links important, buy backlinks from us. Well, just.
And that's something we really focus on inherently as a philosophy, is quality, not quantity. And we're here to make the web a better place. We're not here to spam the world with awful links, which of course 3-4 years ago was the strategy to take. So it's definitely changed a lot, and just making sure that we're falling within Google's guidelines and of their webmaster guidelines, and just making sure that we're not spamming, we're not sending people to the wrong place, we're not making just 1,000,001 backlinks to help rank for a day. Is really important to us as a company.
We're very, very intentional, very intentional, and we make it a point to make sure that the user experience is at the forefront of however we're constructing a link. So when we keep that in mind, we find that it inherently leads to something that's beneficial both for our clients and the people that will be receiving that in whatever format they receive it.
And a lot of the link building that we do now is
we remember we haven't started. Everybody who just joined us, we haven't started the webinar yet. Can hear my echo. So we just waiting for everybody who is. Girls, don't just tell everything right now. And guests, I probably will start our webinar in a minute or two. I still can hear my echo, girls. Amel,
yes.
and David, do you want to say something, and we go on with the webinar?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was intriguing, certainly, what Google ended up saying about links. Just even admitting that links were part of its algorithm was quite a big statement. Obviously, we've all known as SEOs that links are probably the most important thing out there, as long as they're relevant and authoritative out there. But it was kind of novel that they did that. I don't think it's going to change anyone's strategy overall who is doing it correctly. It might give the spammy companies, as you were saying, a reason to actually reach out to people. But the thing is, that's a very short-term tactic to actually build thousands and thousands of links, and it may work in some industries short-term, but it's going to kill your business long-term. So every decent brand out there knows that it's not the long-term thing to do.
Okay, Amel. Okay, girls, yeah, you'll have it in a minute. Amel, do you want to say something, and we go on with?
I'm just. Danica was talking about quantity, and quality is super important. I agree with the quantity, that we need to have a lot of links, backlinks, but making sure that the quality is there, so the links are relevant, and that's what. Actually, it's not something new or anything else. Even if Google, like they say it openly, they've been saying that backlinks were important since the beginning. So I don't know why it's like surprising or anything like that. It's if you read the webmaster guidelines, the foundation of SEO is there already since Google started. So I don't know what's the fuss about SEO. It's really nothing that I don't know, that rocket science or anything like that. It's anyways.
We have a start webinar where we already have a question from public. I'll put it in a chat. If somebody wants to answer, fine, but you have to read it out loud for sake of public. They can see. Yeah, we have more questions on a slide, but I guess we're gonna start with. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, we're talking about echo and everything. Okay, girls. It's all yours. It's all yours. You go ahead, and the questions will appear from time to time. You decide if you're gonna answer them straightforward or later. Okay. It's all yours. I'm switching off my microphone.
Sounds good. So, thanks again for having us. We're going to be talking about social media and SEO and developing content for both. We were just talking about link building. One of the main methods we use for link building is content development, both on-site and off-site. We find it very useful, and of course, digital marketing is moving in that direction. Content was always king. And so this is where we're going to take you
and kind of show you how you can tie it in with a social media strategy while incorporating SEO into creating intentional content.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to jump into this. This is just kind of a broad overview of what we'll be talking about today. First, we're going to go over what is content and what are the benefits. I'm sure most of you already know what content is, but just to recap, in case if we have any newer individuals in the SEO industry, then we'll talk about content and SEO together, content and social together, the three of them as a whole in a relationship. We'll discuss how to create good content, and then finally we'll just kind of recap all the takeaways we hope you guys get from this presentation.
And then we will also open it up to
For questions. Yes.
We welcome
please,
questions, comments, feedback, any and all of the above throughout the entire presentation.
Absolutely. So first, we'd like to talk about, why do you need content?
Why is it important? So content creates it helps you establish yourself essentially as an expert in the field that you're in. So if you can create content consistently that is relevant to your industry, your niche, and you're publishing regularly, it helps leave this footprint that tells users that you are the expert, you know what you're talking about, and whatever you have to bring to the table is relevant and valuable.
And like Kim mentioned earlier, evergreen content, that's what people online want to see. That's what target audiences, that's what consumers need to see in order to help with your traffic and your conversions, getting people to your site, having people engage with your brand. Content is one of the ways to do it. And like I said, last year, content was deemed king. That is still somewhat the case. Earlier, we were discussing, how Google, there's some things that just don't change, and having relevant content is one of those things that will likely stick around for a really long time. So next, you might be wondering, well, so we already talked about needing content, but now we're going to go through and talk about why you need content for SEO. Which may seem like kind of an obvious question to have. Content, again, is one of the drivers of SEO. Content can be optimized for SEO. It's one of those things that you need.
And it's important to note that, and we come across this more often than you would perhaps think, but in terms of technical SEO and on-site SEO, we come across sites where they have de-indexed entire pages that are completely relevant or that they could potentially be ranking for. So it doesn't matter how good your content is in whatever capacity that you're producing it. If your users can't find it, if the Google bots can't find it to bring it up in search results, then it defeats the purpose of intentionally creating it. And on top of that, in terms of creating content on site, implementing an internal linking structure that helps funnel that link juice throughout your site is imperative. It's a way to perhaps introduce readers to your target pages without being overtly promotional and advertorial in your link building efforts.
And looping back to why do you need content for SEO, you can't just rely on being mentioned online, someone typing in your website for people to visit. You really do need that first initial touch, whether it's going to be top of the funnel and people are just going to maybe see that link, see that article that you posted. It's very, very brief, likely in the first interaction, and then content, of course, it's going to develop, it's going to grow. You're going to have people who need very broad topics, very broad answers, and then from there it goes into more specific pieces of content that people will need. So considering, we've already talked about needing content for SEO, but where does social media come in? Why do you need content for social media? Social media, you have to have something that's there to share. Social is engaging with your community. Social is making sure that people can see what you're doing, but you need that content, whether it's visual, whether it's web copy. Videos are great, humor is great, but you really do have to have that because that's how you're going to push out that information. That's how you're going to build the trust that you need with consumers. Content is the way to do it.
And it's important to note that the content that you use or leverage through your social media platforms will not always and most often should not look exactly like what you're posting on your website. You might occasionally share an article, perhaps, or you might mention something from your site, but what you should be doing is perhaps like retweeting industry leaders or engaging in discussions. Social media content looks marginally different than what you create yourself or perhaps what you create for link building, but it's just as important, and it ultimately creates those relationships that could potentially allow you down the road to perhaps write an article on a site for an industry leader or something to that effect.
So, why are each important in regards to one another? So we're not going to go over this entire graph with you. We're going to kind of sum it up. We don't want to bore anyone in the audience, but it'll be here to refer back to later. But each of these have an impact on the other. One of the main things that we see is, for SEO, there are certain things that you have to have. You have to have links. You have to have content. You need keywords in your content. You need to have an optimized on-site and off-site content strategy. And SEO is for crawlers. Like Kim said, it's for Google bots. Whereas social, it shares links. It has trending keywords. It shares the content you're creating. You have organized feeds so that you're engaging with the right community, whether it's your target audience, whether it's consumers. We also, social is for friends. Social is for those people around you. And then content, of course, you're building links through content. You're building keywords and using your keywords in your content. Content is content, and it has the great capacity to make a wonderful user experience and customer journey. It really is for people.
Right, and the way that they all play into each other, I think that it's pretty common knowledge that SEO and content have a unique partnership in that they mutually benefit each other. But I think that quite often the social media aspect of it is perhaps neglected or left out because I feel that people inherently think that social media is something people do in their free time maybe, or they perhaps associate it with something that is more fun than perhaps business related. But when leveraged the right way and when focused on in the same aspect that we focus on SEO and content, it can be just as much of a pillar, if not more, especially considering, like, I bet if you ask everybody what the last thing they did on their phone was, they probably checked a social media platform in some capacity.
Or, you know, they're reading things online. A lot of what we talk about in terms of link building, we have a very targeted, integrated focus, but, you know, you have to be intentional. You have to consider when you're building content, whether it's for third-party blogs, where you're a guest contributor, or whether it's for your own site. Like, how is this going to affect your SEO for crawlers? I mean, how are they going to read it? And then how is it going to affect your social? Who is going to be reading it? Is it actually going to get to them? There's no point in building content or building quality pieces of content, whether it's videos, you know, tweets, images, if no one's going to see it. Pull this up. So then from there, you know, how do you create content for SEO? Kim touched on this earlier, but creating content for SEO, you really have to keep in mind the different keywords that you're going to be using. You have to know your audience, and you have to know how they use the web. One thing that we always talk about internally here at Page One Power is building out a audience profile and a consumer profile. You need to know who wants what, how they're going to be seeing your site, how they're going to be searching for your product or service. Building that portfolio out and knowing exactly what they want to know is how you begin to create content with SEO in mind. And from there, you go on to technical aspects. So this includes keywords, optimizing your title tags, optimizing subheaders of your pieces of content. Now, this is to say, do not keyword stuff. That is not what we want. That's not how you build content for SEO. It's definitely something, it's very fine-tuned and very, like I said, intentional.
Right, and if you have to force a link into a piece of content, or if you're forcing a keyword, a string of keywords, it's not something you should be building. You know, you need to keep in mind, just keep it relevant, organic, and I think, quite honestly, if you approach all of your content, even the content that you're building optimized for SEO from the ultimate user standpoint, you'll be just fine. I will say, though, again, I would like to bring up optimizing or creating content optimized for SEO to include an internal linking structure. I think that's something that is just quite frequently overlooked on many blogs because it's something that I think is easy to forget. So if you internally link to those key landing pages, then you're doing yourself a huge favor by funneling that link juice to perhaps product pages or target pages that are less organic to build links to.
And on that note, you know, you're sending authority to a piece of content that you believe is going to help your readers, and that just jumpstarts it getting out there, jumpstarts crawlers seeing it. It really just, it's a nice little bump. It's like putting gas in your car. It just keeps you going.
Right.
So given that, now how do you create content for social? Along the same lines, you know, you're here for the users. Social media should be one of those platforms where you shouldn't really have to reach to make sense for your users or your community. It should be very, very straightforward and very easy to just share out your content. Content, you know, having a piece of content go viral is always one of the goals we see come across from our clients, and that's not always the best way to go about content for social media. Yes, absolutely. If you can get something to go viral, that's awesome, that's great. But what we oftentimes see is if you pop into analytics, people who have content that goes viral, you're not actually getting your target audience.
Right, it's clickbait.
It's clickbait, exactly. And that's a good thing. I mean, you're getting new eyes on your site, but content for social, it has to be very, very user-friendly and very interesting. How-tos are one of the great things that you see all the time, but Kim, maybe you want to elaborate on creating content for social.
Right. Well, I think that it's also important to note that if something goes viral for an unnatural reason, that's going to be evident in your Google Analytics. You're going to see that in your bounce rates. You might get traffic or visits to your site, but it's not what you're looking for. Again, I view content for social as I view social as a place to engage with people, to be social with people. So content sharing to me is maybe taking a quote from an article that I read by somebody that I view as an industry leader, and taking out, maybe trying to start a discussion, engaging with them, maybe sending, liking their post or commenting, this was great, the insight was exactly what I needed to know for this particular facet. And then eventually it will lead to, maybe you can share out articles and all of a sudden people are commenting on what you're saying, they're taking quotes from what you say, but it takes time. You really have to establish yourself. It's not something that happens overnight. It's not something that's instant gratification. If it's happening instantly, I can almost promise you're doing it wrong, or there's something that's fundamentally not right there.
And again, when you're creating content for social, think about the community online that you're targeting, your community who's searching for terms in Google. So maybe how to get gum out of your hair. And they're on social media, they're going to be looking at posts where it's things all girls with long hair know. It's not going to be the same type of searches. It's going to be a little bit different. So even though you can have the same piece of content that works for both of those queries per se, it's just going to be a little bit different with how you push it out and how you optimize it. Content for social can be optimized. You just want to make sure that it is something that lines in well with trends, that lines in well with the target community you have. Things like Facebook and Twitter. Twitter has Twitter analytics. Not a lot of businesses that we see come through know that, so they can see what types of tweets are doing the best for them. Facebook has targeted posts that you can use as a business. All too many times we see people that just publish things, and of course the only people who are going to see those are people who like your posts as opposed to the people you are hoping to see your posts.
Right, and it's important that, again, even with social media, that whatever you do it intentionally. You want to make sure that there's intent behind it, because social media is live and there's usually a date stamp, so it's hard to backpedal if you make a mistake.
Exactly. So some of our key takeaways for everyone out there: content can and should be used for search engine optimization and social media purposes. You definitely, when you're building content, should have those in mind.
Right, and of course you want to make sure that on-site and off-site content development, social media, and SEO are all on equal footing. So I mentioned before, I think it's not uncommon to find that social media is kind of put on the back burner, but that's, I think that that's something that we can definitely put a little bit more attention to and kind of bring it up to the same level and the same dedication that we give SEO and content development to.
And overall, you can make the most of your marketing campaign when you leverage content in relation to all of the tools you have out there, whether it's your blog, whether it's someone else's blog, whether it's social media or link building or SEO. I mean, today, content is all about the customer journey, and social media and SEO help with that customer journey. and you really just want to make sure that, you know, people are getting where they want to be, people are getting the information they want to see, it's resourceful, and, you know, all that leads to engagement, all of it leads to traffic, you know, conversions ideally, if everything else on your site is set up. But, you know, that's what we hope you guys take away from here. Are there any questions?
It
I
looks
see
like,
some.
right. So go ahead and read the question out loud just so that everybody has a chance to.
So I see, how do you get the right audience to see your content on social when you share it? So one of the ways that we optimize content, of course, you have to know who your audience on social is. There's a lot of really neat tools out there. One of my favorites is Hootsuite. Hootsuite will, it takes internal apps, and you pretty much just connect all of your social media accounts to it, and it'll show you what target audience is interacting with your page the most. And of course, if you go through analytics, determine which platform you get the most traffic from, you can then correlate that with the information from Hootsuite, and you can go from there. One of the very first things that I look for is the demographic. So some clients, maybe you have a luxury boating client, you know, one of the most likely target audiences is going to be wealthy males that are above the age of 55 that maybe live on the coast. So that's the type of information you can get in order to target your individuals on social media, and then the more that you can create content that addresses some of the concerns they might have, or if you're on Facebook, you know, they have targeted ads. So what you can do is anyone who's liked your business page, you can dictate a gender, an age, geo-specific location that it'll then target any post to.
Right, and so to Danica's point, her first point was that you create content relevant to what your audience wants to see, so that when they're searching for it through the various platforms, it comes up. But also a great way to leverage Twitter and Instagram is to use hashtags. So if you use hashtags when you publish like a particular title, if you were to push out a title or something like that, people search the hashtags, again, relevant to your audience, and then it would pull up with your post relevant to what is under that hashtag.
Okay, so next question, do you have a recent success you've used on social you'd like to share to inspire the listeners to jump into the social pool for content sharing and SEO? Right now, you know, we have a few clients, a lot of them are small to medium businesses, but one example that I think will stick out just with everyone who most likely saw it, at least in the US, you know, there was the Oreo, there was the Super Bowl blackout, so they lost a bunch of lights. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but Oreo took complete advantage of the opportunity to produce a quick piece of content, share it on social, and get a bunch of visitors to the site.
Right, and so from that brief moment in time, people have continued to link back to it and refer to it. On a smaller scale or on a smaller level, we have found, particularly with a couple of clients, that using social to create local recognition has been beneficial for our clients. We unfortunately can't particularly point them out or mention them, but we can say that they have seen success in terms of being locally recognized as a brand and then subsequently locally recognized as an expert in their niche.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to tell who your client is, but you can kind of mention, oh, it's a big fruity water company, and it's not Pepsi Cola. So people can guess. David, if you want to ask questions, you don't have to use hypercomment. You can just use your microphone.
Hi guys, great presentation. It was a lot of great content that you shared there. And it's always intriguing, I think, how different departments work together, because in the past, SEOs and social media people and content writers really sat in separate departments and didn't speak at all now. But now it's going to be absolutely imperative if you want to be successful in your marketing activities to integrate everything you do, understand what each other are doing, and plan everything ahead of time as well. So I was just wondering, what kind of challenges have you seen with regards to the integration of the different types of marketing activities?
That's such a fantastic question. I would say that right off the bat, one of the first things that comes to mind that I see as a potential challenge is that many companies, or I would say most, outsource at least one of these facets. So you have one particular facet that's outsourced, whether it's content creation, whether it's SEO, or I guess you could outsource social media, maybe like a marketing outsource or something. But so getting everybody on the same page when you're not even maybe in the same state, it could be potentially quite challenging. And so I think the best part about this, though, is that this challenge is so like surmountable. Like, we could overcome this, thankfully, because it's, we've got modern technology in spades. So we could do a Google Hangouts, or conference calls even, or Skype. But I think that getting everybody together, like literally and metaphorically, is going to be one of the biggest challenges that companies could face.
And one of the things that I see is most oftentimes, well, there's two things, I guess. Companies don't have the budget for one of the three things that we spoke about today, whether it's content, SEO, or social, or the three different departments don't understand what the other is doing. So it's not necessarily that they don't want to work together or they don't have the opportunity to work together. They try to, but they're just disjointed because they really don't get, okay, why are we doing this SEO situation? For example, you might have a small business that is doing a local event, and so you have your marketing team who does content, and they make this press release and they send it out, but they don't include, they don't encourage social interaction or any linking or any SEO in terms of the press release. So then you have this great piece of content for this great event that you're doing, but it's just sitting there, and all the SEO optimization that you could be doing and all of the content and all of the social that you could be doing with it is just kind of left to die. And a big part of that is because that marketing team maybe didn't understand how easy it would be to just integrate those facets into that strategy, because they're already doing the work, they're already pushing it out there. That's essentially what social and SEO does, but it's just not incorporated as much. And then, going back to budgets, there's a way to budget to make sure that social content and SEO can all live in one house. I mean, you don't have to post a new piece of content every day to have a successful content strategy. You can have guests do content for you if you have enough traffic and a great business. So I think that there are challenges that people can overcome. It's just making sure that you address which challenges you are encountering, and then making sure that everyone's on the same page. Communication really is what's lacking a majority of the time.
I've got a follow-up thought to that, actually. A lot of businesses obviously have had their own websites, and that's been their primary area to actually publish digital content. But social media is becoming more important. We're seeing a lot of businesses have different apps as well. Can you see a stage where a few businesses actually don't end up having their own website, and they end up having a combination between social profiles and apps as their online presence, and the necessity to actually have their own website might not be so important for certain industry sectors in the future?
I've only paid attention to SEO for a few years, and I can tell you that for me nothing is out of the question. Like, literally anything could be possible. I think that due to the rise in people using their mobile devices to access things like apps, like you mentioned, I could see a potential decrease in the efforts being funneled to websites as more people do visits from mobile than perhaps a desktop. And I think that it would be interesting to see, it'd be interesting to have somebody do that. Like, I would like to see data behind that. I would like to see how that manifested itself. I know that BuzzFeed was a big deal for a long time because they don't do SEO per se. They do social, and then they have their content, so they're missing like that facet of it. So if you were missing like the website aspect of it, I'd be interested to see how if you can actually cut SEO out. I mean, you know,
on that note, I have seen some, I read some blogs. I haven't ever actually tried this myself, but there are ways to optimize just in terms of search within like the Apple Store, just depending on how you set it up, right? Which of course, if you don't have your website set up, or you just aren't interested in having a website for whatever reason, you can't have one, but you do have a service that works really well with an app, you just pop it in to make sure that you've optimized all of your app listings. I think that could be huge. And then of course you can always optimize your social profiles. There are ways to do that so that you're targeting your keywords and you're targeting different services and pages.
And I think, apps basically cover almost all of the bases now. You can purchase things through apps and so on. So I think that it could absolutely be a possibility. I would see.
Absolutely. You can optimize YouTube. You can optimize Amazon as well.
Optimize anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We have another question. So is there a particular way you recommend to measure the success of social marketing campaigns? I think that's a fantastic question. I think that it is imperative to measure your success, progress, however you want to quantify it along the way in any of these facets, SEO, content, and then of course social. For me, I would measure personally, and please chime in with your thoughts, but the primary way that I would measure the success of social would be based upon engagement. So I think the more followers, the more shares, the more comments, the more, especially from people within the industry. So that would be my driving force, would be to increase engagement through metrics established relative to each platform. So followers, likes, shares, what have you, retweets, things of that nature. That would be the primary way that I would measure success.
For me, I'm an analytics person. I really like looking into that stuff. So, of course, going through Google Analytics, if you do have a website, and just seeing what comes through there, I think is successful, because any engagement, they'll likely find their way to your site. And or, like I said earlier, all of the social platforms pretty much have analytics tools that show you your growth over time and how you're doing it. Twitter Analytics, it looks at your most favorited post, how many new followers you get. On that note, someone just asked about Black Hat social media. I think we're already seeing that happen. You can tell who has fake accounts who are following you. People, I've seen a few people who will auto-populate their posts, and they'll do it so that their posts come up every 10 seconds. So their Twitter account is just constantly posting, which of course is awful because it's the same content, it's the same thing over and over again. It's not personal, it's not intentional. No one wants to see that. So
why do they do it?
They do it because they think that, well, from what I've seen, I've never worked with these people. I don't let our clients do that, but from what I've seen, these people think that the more eyes that they get on these posts, it's going to happen. And then, of course, there's always the discussion about whether Google is indexing all of these different social posts or any of XYZ. So I think we are already seeing it get spammed. I just don't know how. I think that it's going to be more difficult to spam social than it would be websites. Take, for example, Reddit. If you try and jump in there to get your website posted, I mean, the users on Reddit are going to call you out immediately, and they can shut down your site. Like, that's happened before. That's happened in the past. Again, I don't think that social media, although it will be spammed, I don't think it'll ever get to the point that, like link building, for example, is spammed.
I will say though that for every tactic that exists, there are people that will find a way to do the black hat version of it quicker, faster, and better than the slow and steady race will. So I'm sure it'll happen. I mean, fake followers, there are already fake accounts just so you can get more followers to have better numbers, and it'll happen, I'm sure. But I think just like with SEO and content, we'll find ways around it, and we'll find a way to approach it from an angle that benefits you in the long run, not just in the short term.
So there's another question on what we would tell a client who's gained a large number of followers but isn't necessarily increasing traffic or shares, and in the end conversions are stagnant. I would say the first thing I would look at is what social platform are they using, and how many are they using. One of the things that I think is really important is, first of all, you need to know where your target audience is. I could have a marketing website. Twitter and LinkedIn would be great. Facebook, maybe not so much. Whereas if you have a smaller, more local business, Facebook might be more important for you. It's just determining where your target audience is. That's, for me, the first place I would go and look, because that's probably the problem.
Right. And then in terms of, conversions or traffic, remember that social is to be social, right? And so ultimately your goal is to benefit all of these things in the long run, but it's not a quick process. It takes time to develop. So perhaps if you have increased in followers and shares and stuff, but you're not seeing an increase in conversion, perhaps you should re-examine the content that you're putting out there, and also maybe examine the audience that you're targeting.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Did we miss any? I think I saw something about at the beginning of the questions about the
Oh, Amel, is she gonna pop in?
Yes, please do.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to answer the question about social media effectiveness. Sorry about the echo. All right, so okay, cool. Can you hear me well? All right. So the best way to really track the effectiveness of social media, it's using obviously Google Analytics. But one thing that a lot of business owners or website owners don't do is to create goals in your Google Analytics. And this way, when you do all your social media activities, you can go back to your Google Analytics and look at the goal conversions rate, okay? And you'll be able to see by source of traffic, which is in our case social media channel, you'll be able to see the conversion rate of each social media source and channel, and know if it's actually you're getting an ROI from it, or if your strategy are effective or not.
That's a very, very excellent point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I would say that I would expect that the ROI in terms of conversions from social media, I mean, we're not expecting to see big numbers, but anything is better than
nothing.
Than the nothing that you're not getting by not actively trying.
And if you're not actively tracking, I mean, that's a great point, Amel. If you're not actively tracking, you'll never truly know. And that's, I mean, you can always guess based on engagement, but you really do have to be looking at all of the analytics across all of the different tools that you have access to. Do you think credibility plays a larger role in how well your content will be distributed? For instance, if you have a profile but never use it, and if you share content out, do you think other sites will value your content and profile less versus someone who is much more engaged in social? I think credibility does play a large role. Again, we were talking about, there's people who spam all of these different social sites with content that maybe isn't relevant, content that maybe isn't helpful for anyone. I do think that you know, there are larger brands that definitely have an easier time building that authority and that credibility, but it's fairly easy to post only a few times and still have that credibility. I think as long as, again, if you're being intentional, you know, you could post once or twice a day and still have the same effect as someone who posts every hour. It truly comes down to that engagement with your community on social media.
Right, and I think that it's relatively easy to establish credibility. It's just not instant.
Yeah.
So I think that if you didn't have anything established or any profiles, you could do that. It's not impossible. You just need to put the time into doing it.
Right.
Okay, guys, David, Amel, do we have more questions? I don't know. We have plenty of questions. We'll be closing to now on air. It's incredible timeline. You have to see it later, a little bit later. It's a long. David, you want to say something?
I was just going to say, as a follow-up to what the ladies were saying there, is that I was speaking to a social media consultant recently, and they were saying that they saw a much greater distribution of your content on Facebook if you interacted natively on the platform rather than actually use a third-party tool like Hootsuite. So if you use, I mean, I'm just using Hootsuite as an example, if you use some kind of social media dashboard and you publish your content on Facebook via that, then the theory is that you're much less likely to get that content seen by your followers. Is this something that other people have seen as well?
I haven't seen it in practice, but I can see why that would be the case. I mean, again, when you're just posting from a platform, as useful as they are in tracking things and giving you insights into who you're targeting, you're still not engaging, and social media is all about engagement, and using a platform, you can tell a lot of times who is using a platform and isn't actually actively, you know, responding to comments, posting by themselves, liking things. You can tell when, I mean, a platform can't like things for you. It's all real time.
Well, and I think also that there is like Facebook, to me, feels that it's a bit more, it appeals a bit more to the local business. Mm-hmm. And so in terms of that, the engagement should be a bit more organic and deliberate in terms of the types of posts that you're posting or the comments that you're making, because your target audience is a bit more specific, I feel.
And just to add to this, actually the main reason is because Facebook wants people to stay on Facebook. So exactly. if you're using a third-party tool, you're not on Facebook platform. So that's why they want people to go log in and then, you know, share from the platform itself.
That's a great point, and I don't know if you've noticed, but when you click on links in Facebook, it opens it in like a window, but you're still ultimately in Facebook. When you leave that post, you haven't left Facebook. It's like the Matrix. You're still there, you know. So
it's like AOL from 20 years ago.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
So this next question, if you're only tweeting 1 to 2 a day, how are you engaging with your community? I think that's great. I think engagement, you know, it can be defined several different ways. One of the things that we talk about with clients is engagement. If you can't post every hour or every 2 hours, that doesn't mean you can't engage with people. Posting 1 or 2 times a day and doing that every day, you're still building that frequency, you're building that credibility, you're using your assets and your efforts in a manner that doesn't just drain you. If you don't have the money or the time to be on social media posting every hour, I wouldn't recommend it. And you have other facets of your marketing strategy that you should be focusing on as well. I think that, again, engagement, it depends on what niche you're in, what you define engagement as. If you have someone who's posted every 6 months, getting them to post every day, whether it's once, twice, 3 times, is better than nothing at all.
Right, and I would say as long as you made those 1 to 2 posts deliberate, intentional, targeted, then you're better off than just not doing it at all.
Yeah, and Amel brings up a great point. Engagement is conversing with your community, answering some of your followers, some of your tweets, participating in discussions.
That's such a great point. You need
Mm-hmm.
to, so I think, again, this is another facet that could potentially be overlooked, and often is, if someone comments on something, or if someone shares something that you've posted or likes something, make sure to engage with them. So if someone posts a comment on your site, reply to the comment, or if someone shares your post, you know, favorite it, or like, or mention it or something. That reciprocity is key to creating everything that is social media.
So this next question, what tools do you ladies use for tracking social, since Google Analytics is limited unless you're not using UTMs? I think it depends on what you're trying to track. For me, a lot of the campaigns that I work on and work with, we're trying to figure out what content posts do best for our clients. How can we gain that visibility that they need to see? And so for me, personally, I directly go to that platform. Like I said, a lot of the platforms out there, like Twitter, Facebook, they have those analytics. LinkedIn is a little bit trickier, but they have those analytics that takes a look at how people are engaging with you. One of my favorite things in Twitter analytics is it shows you how many new followers you gained and then how many you lost, which I think can be a really nice indication. I had a client once, they posted something that wasn't necessarily the most neutral post ever, and we saw a pretty noticeable decrease in the amount of Twitter followers they had that month. So
I think also just a good tool to use in general is BuzzSumo.
BuzzSumo is nice, yeah.
It's a fantastic tool to leverage, particularly in terms of, I mean, seeing what type of content people are engaging with, how it's being shared and leveraged, and it breaks it down for you very nicely. So I highly recommend checking out BuzzSumo just in terms of integrating that with content and social media.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question about BuzzSumo, actually.
Okay.
Okay, everybody says BuzzSumo is great, everybody use BuzzSumo. Okay, what else? What, for example, if you want to put in the same room, same webinar room, BuzzSumo, and say 2 more tools, which one would you choose? Just I mean, as close to BuzzSumo as possible, so that they could talk and, well, I don't know, eat each other.
Right. That's a great question. So, and not like counting the Google Analytics portion of it, or discounting that and using 2 separate ones other than that?
No, let's discount Google, because it would be difficult to put Google with
in the same room.
with anybody else. So
right.
just it's a practical question.
No, it's a very fantastic question. So I would say probably BuzzSumo, Hootsuite, I would say for sure. And do you have another one that you would contribute to the mix?
It's so hard. There's so many.
There are so many good ones. It's really hard to kind of narrow.
Okay, I'll narrow down the question. I already have Moz, Agree, and BuzzSumo, and I'm looking for 3rd one.
I really like SEMrush, just in terms, there are ways, I mean, it's not as social oriented, but you can check out and see which pieces of content you're getting ranking the most, and I think that can also be pretty indicative of what types of content your readers want to see. So one thing that you can do is you can look at pages and how well those are doing. They just added that section, but it's not, like I said, they have some aspects of SEMrush that you can apply to social. It's not necessarily directly social, though.
Okay, so do you think SEMrush would be a good one, 3rd one?
BuzzBundle. I've used BuzzBundle too. That's a good one. I don't like. There are definitely aspects of BuzzBundle that pops up because it pops up the feeds in it, and you can directly like save the information. So that's great. the one thing, I only use Buzz Bundle as a download, and the less things I can download to my computer, the happier I am. But it's also great. The profiles, yeah, you can track using profiles. So, nope, great input, Anton.
Okay, Amel was commenting on mine. You can say it if you wish to. What was it you recommended? It was Buzz Bundle.
Yes, Buzz Bundle is, yeah, it's pretty good.
Lots of buzzes.
It's all the social buzz.
Right.
David, what about you?
In terms of social media, I don't use an awful lot in terms of distribution. I use Buffer App a little bit as well, just to distribute a bit of content. Only 3 tweets a week, actually, but the rest of it is native integration. I'm actually going the opposite way now. I'm trying to focus on quality of relationships and, identifying, not a crazy amount of people, maybe between 20 and 100 people or so. The problem with these big enterprise level social platforms is, to a certain degree, they encourage you to try and actually build up lists of thousands of potential contacts, and you're never actually going to build a proper relationship with these people. And the people that do, your competitors that do have the relationship with these people, they'll always end up going to them rather than you. So I think if you want to give yourself a realistic chance of actually getting long-term business, then it's about proper relationships rather than actually fake relationships with thousands of people.
Okay, guys. Yeah, I have to, girls, you have to unmute yourself because it was all echo because of your arrangements, unfortunately. So every time you talk, you unmute yourself, and when you don't, just mute yourself. Okay. Otherwise, we will all have echo. Okay, I'll check if we have more questions. I don't think we have more questions from audience. We've been about 1 hour on air. Guys, if you do have more questions, guys who are watching us, shoot now. Difficult question, girl. Yeah, very often people get a bit slow. Well, not slow, but yeah, well, they will get questions later. How can they approach you?
Feel free to shoot us an email. I'll pop into the comments and say hello, and of course, always reach out to our website and fill out the web form if you can't reach us via email.
Okay, so email would be the easiest one to reach you. Okay, I'll check again if we do have more questions. No, we don't. Seems to be we don't have more questions. There are a lot of comments about SEMrush and everything. So a lot of people will like SEMrush for some reasons, maybe for all good reasons. I mean, anything, yeah, okay. Okay, girls, we've been 1 hour. Seems to be there is no more questions, but not immediate questions. Thank you very much. It was very interesting, very alive. I thought it would be the first time I would be facing two speakers in front of me from the same computer, but we had a conference on Friday last week, and Eric Enge and Mark Trapfagen. And what happened? They're supposed to be on 2 different screens, but just before the conference, connection on Mark died, which is funny because they're just next door office. It's the same company. Yeah, he just moved to next door, and they were standing behind the same computer. So you didn't make history, but you made very, very good and awesome, absolutely awesome webinar. Okay, you can unmute your mic. Thank you very much, and thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you for having us and for engaging with us. We appreciate the opportunity immensely. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, girls, and thank you, Page One Power. Thank you, Amel.
Pleasure.
Thank you, David.
Hello, hello. It was good to be part of it. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, great. So we'll have another webinar this week. Thursday is on RankBrain. you guys can be a guest if you want to on a rank brain as David Harry and Doc Sheldon. Rest of you who's watching us, you can watch it. If you want to be a guest, shoot me email. I mean, who's watching us as Thursday this week. David, you still doing this show every Friday?
What I'm doing is I'm not doing it quite so often as I was. This week in Organic, yeah, I was doing that every Friday at 4 o'clock. I've just interviewed...
4 o'clock London too. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Not everybody's from London here.
Good point, absolutely. 4 p.m. British summertime at the moment. I am doing it next Thursday, actually. I may get back into it more on a weekly basis. But I've been doing another project. I've interviewed another 14 top SEOs on their thoughts on SEO in the future. So I'm doing different projects. So it's difficult to do absolutely everything. So I'll get back to it more in the future.
So it's even more difficult to keep track on you. Yeah. So you're doing so many things.
Yes.
Amel, are you still doing
Yes.
your blog? Extremely late. I took part once and it was 3 a.m.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
Okay.
I know.
Tell
We
us about
have we have it every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah.
7 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah, 7 p.m.
Yes.
Eastern time. Okay, we have people from Singapore to West Coast here, so you have to tell the time. Okay, so girls, thank you very much. It was absolutely great. And if you decide to do it again with us, yeah, just shoot me email. We'll arrange something. I don't know what format it's gonna be. Okay, thank you everybody who were watching us. Okay, you don't go, but you can do this like this, Mom. I'm gonna tell you, guys, thank you very much. We're going off air. Thank you and
Bye-bye.
goodbye.